side identity. In other words, but you don't particularly want to know about the source. I mean, it's coming from your organization. That's irrelevant. And the way we do that is with access lists. We have variables that you can change in the config that allow you to change the access list so it shows either the destination or source IP. So when we're coming into the firewall, we want to know where it's coming from, and when we're going out through the firewall, we want to know where it's going. And if you click on the actual flags, we bring up a details window. And if you can see here, this is pretty much a detail window. We have actually a counter that shows like a European, a geographical map at the top that shows particular regions of the world. We actually show the country code. We actually link to Wikipedia so that you can, sometimes you've never heard of these countries, so you click on them, you can find out a little bit more. We also show the organizational data. And we actually get the syslog output as well. And if you notice, there's a button there that says monitor source or monitor IP address. So in this instance, I could look at where it's coming from, click on, if I want to, where it's coming from, I click on monitor source. And I can start monitoring that particular IP address. And if you notice now, we bring up the monitor window, and you can see that if the event is to the IP address, it is in red. If the event is from the IP address, then it's in white. So here you can see a lot of machines connecting up to red lines connecting up to a web server, and you see one line going out to a local PC. So let's look further, and on the next window we have a world map. This is really cool, especially for Knox, and again, if you click on the port numbers, you get the options of world maps, timelines, summaries, report parameters. And this is where we click on world map. And if we click on world map, we start seeing we've clicked on it on the allowed window, but you can also click on it in denied window and have two world maps running, so you can have your allowed and denied window. It displays the events and the locations in the world. Again, clicking on the flag brings up the details. If you notice, at times there might be multiple hits from one location, in which case a little number will pop up, and you'd have multiple entries in the details window. And you can also filter. If you notice, one of the most important things that we have with SOI is that we can filter. And we can filter on organization, keyword. So if you want to just look at a particular access list or a particular port, we can go from destination port, source IP, country code. It gives us a very powerful filterable subset. And we can zoom in. So sometimes, I have particular regions that I have open, which are my sphere of influence in allowed. If we click on the timeline, this is really important as it shows the last hour's data set. So you can filter on, again, using IP, destination, country, organization, or keyword, and it's very useful for finding further events to see if they have patterns. For example, if I typed in, say, in the organization universities, I want to see how many universities are connecting up to me. I might be a bank, I might have no interest in universities, might be slightly interesting. If I want to see how many home users, I might click on ADSL, or actually someone once mentioned to me, like, what happens if you type in police, army, or navy? And wouldn't that be a passive hacking tool? Because then you're seeing all these people connecting up to you, and especially if you run like a peer-to-peer, and you see all these, multiple organizations connecting up to your peer-to-peer software, and you start to see some of these being, government agencies. It's now almost a passive hacking tool. And it's like, yeah, but that's not what it was designed for. We're looking for organizations that are anomalies for you. It's more of a defensive tool. We're looking for something that's we're looking for these organizations connecting up to you that shouldn't be, that might be slightly different. And a classic one is if I'm a company and I type in university and you see hundreds of universities connecting up, you can pretty much guarantee you're running a peer-to-peer software. Let's look at the summary window, and this is really cool. This is 0 to 65,000. So along the horizontal axis, you've got the 0 to 65,000, 535 ports. And each pixel represents around about 164 ports. You can adjust the speed at which this runs, and also the color. So the colors represent a number of events. So like on my example, the red is over 20 events within that specific time period. And one thing that visually shows here is this is allowed, and I can guarantee this. If I typed in keyword and put my access list for my outbound, I would find that some of those thick lines, especially that red line coming down, is on probably port 6294, which is a peer-to-peer. So I've got a feeling on this network in particular, there's a peer-to-peer user running that's downloading. So if we look at the allowed, I mean, we can see these are being denied. So you can see all these guys trying to connect up to the world, trying to connect to us. And you can see on the allowed, I mean, this is our inbound and outbound, don't forget. But by adding the outside underscore access in, which is the default outside access list, we could actually filter on what access list we're going to be viewing. So again, if we look at that, we can see some visually allowed where we're going and if you look on the left hand column, you can see pretty much on the allowed that most things are going to under 1024 ports, and we're rarely seeing things above that. We might want to start checking some of those out. But what's the cool feature is I can select a section of this by just holding the mouse down and then selecting what area and then releasing it, and it will show me more details about that. So like there you can see I've selected a particular time period, and it's going to show me all the different details and all the events that have occurred in that. So we're going with the rules, we're keeping with the rules still of being able to show a bigger picture, then show filter it, and then show details of the actual event. And when I mentioned, one of the big things about 2.1 was not only the summary window but also the reports, and we can run multiple reports. This can be run on demand, it can run every hour, every minute, and it provides an extreme detailing of what's going on. But you define your sphere of influence, and then you start letting the report work out what's unusual. Let's move on to the Windows version. Microsoft Windows shows events versus time. And again, because it's pretty much internal, we're not really interested in the geographical location, so we can create our own icons, and we allow ourselves to configure these own icons. And actually by clicking on a number at the top, we can create the different rules and the icons and the events. So how do we get this? We actually install an open source product called Snare on a desktop or server, and basically Snare turns the Windows event log into a syslog, and we just fire the syslog at us. And since there's no GIP data, we don't really care. We use icons to represent events. We can configure these events again by clicking on a number, and a lot of it standard pre-events or pre-configured events are already done by us. So if we actually clicked on a number, you can see there I want to look at new processes starting up on an XP machine, and I want to particularly look for cmd.exe. And when it does, I want it to play an audible alarm for me. And it's going to give an icon of a play.gif. So you can see the event is from anywhere. So in column 1, I've just created a single event, and you can see I can have 10 rules within that event. One neat feature is that we can trigger visual and audio alerts. So I have a rule that looks for anyone, again, starting a command line on my servers. I have another rule that looks for anyone logging on as me. I mean, I'm just, you can create particular rules. It's always nice to see if a user is being added to a domain or a computer account has been deleted. I mean, I get alarmed. So if someone added a new user into my domain, I get alarmed.